What is up, adventurers? Today we are in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about a cryptid here, some folklore they have of the Hopkinsville Goblin incident from 1955 and the Sutton Farm. Let's go adventuring. So as you can see, the Hopkinsville Goblin was a folktale that started here in Hopkinsville in 1955. All right, so basically what happened here was in the early 1900s, American tobacco industry came in and were lowballing the prices of tobacco to the local tobacco farmers, and it was a monopoly, and they started basically buying up every farm, lowballing them and setting what the price should be. So local guys got mad and started going to these farming companies, these farmers, and saying, don't join, stop selling your tobacco for a low price, it's ruining our industry. And so they dressed up in these costumes. Some looked like this. Here's one guy, and here's some more kind of eerie looking costumes, but their goal was anti-capitalist. They were fighting for the local farmers to keep getting the best prices they could for their tobacco. Okay, so here is the man of the hour. This is the Hopkinsville Goblin, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this local folklore in Hopkinsville, and it has to do with 1955 and the Sutton family farm. So basically what happened was in 1955, the Suttons were tobacco farmers. And as I just told you, this tobacco was the cash crop of the area. And they were chilling out one night at their farm, and they started, Billy Ray, one of the farmers, saw a silver UFO land on his property. And he saw it out in the field. So he went out in the field to check it out, and basically what he saw were these goblin-like creatures with big ears, no neck, and long arms, with red eyes coming towards his farm. And so he started opening fire on them, and basically what happened was they started backflipping, and their buckshot was bouncing off of the goblins. And so they went to the local sheriff. They had a whole freak out, told the sheriff about it. The sheriff believed him because he himself had an incident with these guys. And so as they told more of their story, the sheriff sent some men out the next day. Some deputies looked around, and they couldn't find anything. No evidence. They did find some interesting silvery ooze or something out on the farm themselves, and they couldn't find out what it was exactly. So they continued investigating, and so the local police think the whole story was entirely possible. Could they help? The story kind of gained national attention. Local newspapers and things started coming into the area, and they even had a sketch artist come in and do some drawings of the Hopkinsville Goblin, and this is what it looked like. And this is some of the pictures they ended up doing, and apparently it was so real, one of the women in the farm even left and said, to put that picture away, it's creeping me out of how real it looks. So no neck, long arms, big ears, and eyes of almost a very reflective or or yellow eyes, excuse me. So this is the history. Now, so it was basically the hot summer Sunday in 1955, August 21st, 7 p.m., Sutton Farm. There's Billy Ray, and he's going out to the well to get some water, and he sees a flying saucer. Here's their dog barking at something. And this is what they claim they saw. And they got their shotguns out, and they opened fire with buckshot. And apparently the buckshot was hitting them, but it wasn't doing any damage. The little men continued to approach the house, popping up in windows and doors. Billy Ray steps on the porch, and the creature's hand reaches down for him and grabs at his hair, pulls him back into the house. His wife, they said, keep shooting. The local sheriff actually believed him, and they send out a investigation, and it was a shimmering bright metal like my refrigerator, says Glennie Langford. Story made national headlines. Radios and newspapers came to the area. People started taking pictures. Books were written. TV shows produced about the strange visitors. And so the visitors were described as Silver Kelly Green Men. The people of Kelly started the annual Little Green Man Festival in 2005 to commemorate the history. They actually don't do that anymore, but the girl at the front did tell me they have a convention called the Little Green Man Festival. I personally kind of like this guy, convention, sorry. Different drawings of him here. And so they ask you at the museum, after you've read the history of the Hopkinsville Goblin, do you believe it or not? So I'm going to say, why not? I am a person that thinks, I don't want to think that we're alone in this giant universe. And it was a quote from the movie Contact. It seems like it'd be a tremendous waste of space if we were the only ones here. So I'm going to say I believe it. So here they're encouraging you at the museum to find the little green men all over the museum. They've got little hidden ones. So let's see if we can find all of them. So if you look up, I'm going to zoom in. There's one right there looking at us. All right, we just found another one right here behind some of the air ducts. Here's one right here. Oh, we just found another one. Here he is right here, right above the tobacco farming in the black patch. So every time I go to one of these cryptid things, it's always Mothman. Now, I don't think Lizard Man had a nearby military installation, but one of the world's largest stockpiles of nuclear bombs was once kept at Fort Campbell, 20 miles south of here, with the intention of nuclear weapons. Invention of nuclear weapons at the end of World War II. With the Cold War, Clarksville base, better known as the Birdcage, operated separately from Fort Campbell. It had 1/3 of the nation's nuclear weapons at it. You have to ask yourself, when we start sending out that type of energy into the universe, you have to ask if another species picked up those readings, the rays, the gamma rays, and things like that. I mean, 160 employees from the Hopkinsville-Clarkston area worked at the Birdcage separately was necessary. FBI agents visited former employees here to tell them that the project had been declassified. These stories started to emerge. I mean, come on. Did these guys actually sent something out in the universe? Roswell kind of happened like that. All this stuff happened after Operation Paperclip, and we started testing bombs out at White Sands. I'm telling you, we sent something out. These two items have something in common. And things from other planets and universes may have picked up on those rays. I mean, that's the most reasonable idea. So on the way out here of the Hopkinsville Museum, there's a little bit of graffiti that is absolutely amazing. Stay weird, Hoptown. And there is our Hopkinsville Goblin. There he is. All right, so we came over here to the Hopkinsville, Kentucky Convention and Visitors Bureau Welcome Center. And as soon as you walk in, you go straight back to the corner here. And they have got a wonderful, wonderful homage here to the Hopkinsville Goblins. And something I didn't know that I was just informed of is that Steven Spielberg's movie E.T. was actually based on the little green men here at the Hopkinsville incident. And he was going to call it Night Skies, but changed it to E.T. And so here is some really great information. They've got little squishy stress balls here with the Hopkinsville. They've got a local book, Christian County Counts, and you count all the different things that Christian County's done. And here's one on count to 12, and it's about the 1955 incident at the Sutton Farm. And they've got a local artist here who made one of the handmade Geraldine Sutton stitches. She made this little felt Hopkinsville Goblin, which is great. And it's just the way this community has embraced this is great. We've been now to Bishopville, South Carolina to see where they've done this, and now we've been to West Virginia where they've embraced the Mothman, and now here in Hopkinsville, they've just embraced the goblin and the folktale of the Hopkinsville Goblins at the Sutton Farm, which is tobacco farmers here in 1955. And as you can see throughout pop culture, for all the way from, I can't remember his name, Marvin the Martian to Buck Rogers, that people have always been fascinated with little green men. And we've been to Roswell, New Mexico, and it goes all over. So if you ever get a chance and you're here in Christian County and you want to come to the Convention Visitors Bureau or the museum, they have wonderful, wonderful interpretive displays here all about the Goblin and the Night of the Little Green Men. And if you want to look up more about it, there's podcasts, there's books. As a matter of fact, there's a book right here called Monkeys Don't Wear Silver Suits, because they thought one of the theories was that a local carnival or circus, their monkeys had got out, and they thought that maybe the Suttons thought that that was in fact what they were seeing, but they shot at them. So you think there had been bodies. The police came the next day, there were no bodies or blood or anything. So I don't think it was monkeys. It had to have been something. And I like the fact that they've got a little ET here, ET phone Hopkinsville. So then if you walk over here, not only do they, of course, their industry here is tobacco and flour. They've got a wonderful exhibit here on the Trail of Tears, because it did come through here. And as you saw in my previous video at the Cherokee Museum of the Cherokee People, this is an original route of the Trail of Tears, and they've got some Cherokee written signs here and things like that. And it's important to know, because this was an awful time in history for the Cherokee people as they were forced out west during and after the American Revolution, when they lost pretty much everything they had. So if you get a chance, definitely check this out. And one of the things, being a teacher, I just saw they've got here is a book vending machine. What a great way to promote literacy for kids than to give them a little coin and let them come over and put their money into a vending machine and pick out their favorite book. Kids love gimmicky things like that, where they can touch and kinesthetic learning and have a choice in what they get to pick. And we were just being talked to by the lady here at the visitor center, and she was telling us all about, this is one of the biggest manufacturers of flour for many of the products you probably eat. Yesterday, my Cracker Barrel pancakes were flour from Hopkinsville. The Krusteaz company is here, and they make all sorts of delicious things. One of my favorite Krusteaz, too, is the cinnamon swirl. That goes great with coffee. But yeah, this, again, you come into a visitor center for one thing, and you end up learning a whole bunch of other things. You know, we came in here for the Hopkinsville Goblin, and you end up learning so much more about the county that you're in and their agriculture and products. So this is as close as you get to where the Sutton farm was, where the actual Hopkinsville Goblins were spotted. And this is where they used to have the Goblin Festival, but they're doing conventions now. But this is as close as you can get modern day to the Sutton farm, where the Goblins were first spotted and the UFOs were spotted. Nothing here today but humidity and bugs. So in 2010, the Little Green Men Festival began in Kelly, Kentucky, and it took place at the field as close to the Sutton farm as you can get, but it had to stop because of COVID. And another thing happened was the city actually sold the property. A local church bought the property, and they removed the UFO that used to sit there and added a religious symbol of the Ten Commandments. So the Little Green Man Days is no more. Well, from 2019, the last year, till this past year, they started something new. And I'm going to show you that here, because I promised the Chamber of Commerce and the museum that I would give this a rep on my YouTube page. So in this coming year, they are going to have the Goblin Con, and this is going to feature special guests, a relative of the Sutton family who saw it. They're going to have paranormal people there and all sorts of other really cool stuff. I'll catch you guys on the next Adventuring with Chris.